Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Amma ba'd. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. Inna asdaqal hadithi kitabullah. وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Praise be to Allah. We seek His help and His forgiveness. We seek refuge with Allah from the evil of our own souls and from the evil from our bad deeds. Whomsoever Allah guides, no one can ever lead them astray, and whomsoever Allah leads astray, no one can guide. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, the One, having no partner, and I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His final messenger. Once again, whomsoever Allah guides, none can lead him astray, and whomsoever Allah sends astray, none can guide. The truest of word is the book of Allah, and the best of guidance is the guidance of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The worst of things are those that are newly invented, and every newly invented thing is an innovation, and every innovation is going astray. And every going astray is in the nar, in the fire. SubhanAllah. So assalamu my dear brothers and sisters. I see we have a very small audience, so this is going to be a very, I think, personal khutbah, inshallah. And I hope this khutbah has a direct impact to you guys. Now I know usually after Ramadan, the khatib gives a khutbah on how you should come to the masajid, you should pray Isha, come for Fajr, and these things you should do. But this khutbah is going to be a bit different from that, right? Because I think all of us here, we know that we should come to the masajid for at least Isha, as a start. And I think a lot of us know that we should uphold the qualities that we've had during Ramadan, right? Like giving sadaqah, right? Donating to the masjid, giving to the poor, praying namaz, praying your extra salah, right? Praying your sunnah salah. We all know this. So this khutbah is about something a little different. Because when Ramadan ends, we go back to the life we had before Ramadan, right? We allocate more time, we expose ourselves to other things other than the spiritual events that we have during Ramadan. For instance, there's no more iftars at the masajid. There's no more tarawih at the masjid. There's no more tahajjud at the masjid, right? So logically, we'd be spending less time at the masajid, and it makes sense. And we spend more time at school. We spend more time at work. We spend more time with our wives, our kids, I see some sisters, our husbands, right? We spend more time with Muslims and non-Muslims, right? During Ramadan, it was majority Muslims, right? Outside of Ramadan, non-Muslims too, right? We kind of bring those guys back into our life, subhanAllah. And it is so pivotal of a time in this world right now because everyone is looking towards us. And who's us? It's the youth. And as I look around this room, I don't really see any senior individual, right? When I say youth, I mean Islamic youth. Someone who's capable, able-bodied, right? Able to walk, talk, has no deficit, no detriment. And people look to us youth as leaders. Whether it be at work or at school or at home, whether you're a brother or you're a sister. As you expose yourself more to this world after Ramadan, people look to you as a leader. And when it comes to leadership, whether you like it or not, whether you want to be a leader or not, you are one. Because there is someone in your life, I can guarantee you, whether it's your wife, your husband, your kids, your cousins, your friends, so on and so forth, whoever it is, they look to you. They look up to you as a leader. They try to analyze you. They try to see who you are, the type of person you are, right? And they look at you and they wish to feel inspired from you. And so who best to learn from the qualities of a good leader and the qualities of a good character other than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And the pious predecessors we had before. And specifically when I mention the pious predecessors, I'm talking about Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anhu. And during Ramadan, of course, we practice things like kindness, leniency, right? We practice things like kindness, leniency, patience, these qualities, which are good to have. But what's that extra step that we need in order to go from good to great? To go from great to excellent, from excellent to exceptional, right? Similar to how the Sahaba were, similar to how Umar ibn Khattab, how Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, may Allah be pleased with them, how these individuals were, subhanAllah. And so when we talk about Umar ibn Khattab as a leader, we go to his Khilafat. And there's a few narrations I want to discuss that go over three things. It goes over being truthful when you're a leader. And having that, I don't want to say vulnerability, but just being truthful. And the second thing is uplifting those around you. And many of us have had opportunities in the past to uplift others. And it doesn't necessarily mean promoting an employee, but it means encouraging others. And the third thing I want to talk about is self-accountability as a leader. Because all of us, whether we're, again, I see mostly brothers here. If you have a family, you're the Amir of your house. If you were a son and you're living in your father's house, your dad looks up to you in a certain way. If you give him advice, if you nudge him in a certain way, he'll listen to you, inshallah. Most dads usually do, even if it's just 1%. And the sisters too, it's the same thing applies for the sisters. You are a leader in your house. So subhanAllah, the first thing, truthfulness and vulnerability. So there's two examples of this in his Khilafat. First, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, he tried to limit the dowry, right? Because to make it easier for men to pay mahar. But a woman came up to him and said that no, you cannot limit what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put no limit on, the mahar. And Umar ibn Khattab, he's the Khalifa, he could have responded by saying, no, I can make my own decisions. Like so many global leaders we see today, right? Who just neglect, who say no, right? He could have just said no, la. But instead he says, this woman is right and Umar is wrong. Subhanallah. And this is a quality we should practice ourselves. When someone admits the truth, especially when it's related to Islam, or when it's related to your work, or when it's related to your school, or in your house, it's okay to stand up for justice, the truth, in this way, and admit when you're wrong, like similar to how Umar ibn Khattab did. And there's another example. There's an example when Umar radiallahu anhu was giving some instructions as the Caliphate. And when you give instructions to the Caliphate, you say hear and obey, right? That's just in the culture, to say hear and obey. And Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu stands up and says, we will not listen to you, we will not hear and obey. So this big Sahaba is telling the Caliphate, the Amir al-Mu'mineen, we're not going to listen to you. And he's the Caliphate, he could easily say, come up here, let me make an example out of you, like flog him, lash him. He could do anything, subhanAllah, at that point. He could make an example about someone who stood up against him, right? As he was about to give instructions. And it may have been very severe instructions, but instead, he asks, why? Why won't you listen and obey? Right? Why won't you listen to what I have to say as your leader? And Umar ibn Khattab, Salman al-Farsi then says, because you took 2 pieces of cloth, and we only got 1. So, such a minor thing. Salman al-Farsi is telling Umar ibn Khattab, you took 2 pieces of cloth, and I took 1. Umar ibn Khattab could literally say, I need these 2 pieces of cloth. It's not a big deal, right? And so many times in our life, people come up to us, whether when we're in leadership roles, or when we don't perceive that we're in leadership roles, and they perhaps accuse us and say, you've taken more, or you've done this. Your wife may say, or your husband may say, no, you didn't do this, so I'm not going to do this. Or your friend may neglect you in a certain way. And we respond very negatively and harshly. And something that's small in our eyes may be big in theirs, subhanAllah. So Umar ibn Khattab, how does he respond? He just responds by explaining himself. He calls his son Abdullah up and tells his son to explain exactly what the situation is. And of course he took 2 pieces of cloth because he was a very big and tall guy, so he needed 2 cloths. So his son cut off some of his cloth and gave it to him. But that's besides the point, right? The point is, this truthfulness, right? This vulnerability is something that you should also have, dear brothers and sisters, as a leader. Instead of there's no need to get so hot-headed. There's no need to get so defensive. Instead, ask why, similar to how Umar ibn Khattab did. And something that may seem small to you may not seem as small to another person, right? Just like how the cloth, it's just a cloth to Umar ibn Khattab, right? But to Salman al-Farsi, it may be much more. And maybe he has a newborn child he needs to wrap, right? We don't know anyone else's circumstance or situation, but we know ours. And so as leaders, because we are leaders, whether you like it or not, you should need to implement this. As it is a teaching from Umar ibn Khattab, subhanAllah. And there's this other narration, right? So this is the act, this is the act of promotion. So Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, he test rode a horse. You know how you test ride a car? So he test rode a horse, and the horse's ankle broke while he was test riding it. So he brought it back to the shop, and the owner of the shop said, no, al-qada, justice, I want justice. Al-qada, I want justice, subhanAllah. And the owner, and so you can imagine Umar ibn Khattab, you can just be like, no, like, why do you want justice? Like, I'll just like pay you out of the treasury or something, right? But no. What he says, okay, so you want justice? Let's bring this to court, right? So he opens it up, and he lets the individual appoint a judge, right? Because he can't be the judge in his own case. And this individual asks for a specific person from Iraq named Shurayh. So this person from Iraq, Shurayh, comes all the way to address this case, subhanAllah. And I want you to see what Umar ibn Khattab does. So Shurayh comes and he rules against Umar. He says either you have to give him a brand new horse exactly like this, or pay for the damages. Now as a leader, right, as Amir al-Mu'mineen, if you govern a country, right, you could just be like, waive this off, we're gonna, take this off your taxes or whatever, right? But no. Instead, he says, Shurayh, I agree with your decision. And I accept your decision. And this individual, Shurayh, he wasn't a formal judge. He wasn't a Sahabi. He wasn't someone who had a specific degree, right? Like how we have degrees nowadays, subhanAllah. But Umar ibn Khattab saw that this individual was keen for a particular skill. And so he said, and in fact, not only do I accept your decision, but I promote you to a judge. I make you an official judge. So what's this lesson we draw, right? It's the second one. It's the second lesson. When people around us have a particular skill set, people who work for us, or people we work with, our co-workers, our employees, our siblings, our parents, our mothers, fathers, etc., right? Our brothers and sisters, when they have a particular skill set, promote them. And it's not necessarily about giving them a higher salary or promoting them with a new title, but if it's your brother, compliment them. Tell them that they're doing great. Encourage them to do a specific task. For instance, if your friend is a good planner, let them plan. If your coworker is better at a certain task, encourage them. And don't let your pride and ego get in the way, subhanAllah. So we discussed two things, right? The truthfulness, the vulnerability, as well as promoting those around you as a leader, subhanAllah. And then finally, there's self-accountability. It's the third point. So Umar ibn Khattab, radiallahu anhu, of course, was known for his harshness. And we all know how he was known for his harshness, his aggressiveness. And that's not something we can deny. And from the frequent du'as of Umar radiallahu anhu, he used to say, Allahumma inni dha'ifun faqawini. Oh Allah, I am weak, but make me strong. And Umar ibn Khattab was a strong man physically, but in this sense he was saying, Ya Allah, I am weak because I get angry. Because in Islam, a weak man, a weak woman, is someone who can't control their anger. That's the sunnah, that's the authentic sunnah. So in this scenario, he's saying, Ya Allah, I'm an angry person. And then that anger makes me weak, so make me strong. Make it so I don't get angry, right? Faqawini. And the second thing he would say is, Wa inni shadidan faliyani. Ya Allah, I am severe and harsh, but make me lenient. Make me lenient. And he said, Wa inni bakhilun fasakhini. And sometimes I'm stingy, so make me generous. So subhanAllah, what does this tell us about ourselves? We should ask ourselves, what detriments do we have? And no one's perfect, subhanAllah. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect. So what detriments do we have? Are we prideful and arrogant, like how Bani Israel was? Are we gluttonous? Do we like tasty food? Is that something that we like? Are we, again, angry, like how Umar ibn Khattab was? Are we angry? Are we harsh? What are we? What are your deficits? And you should be asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a leader to protect you from that, to save you from that, and ask for the reverse, the positive, the positive reciprocal, right? And subhanAllah, identify it and have that self-accountability. And then there's one other thing that I want to end off with on this talk, on I guess like these three subjects. Well, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu used to say, Rahimullah man ahda ilayhi ayubi. May Allah have mercy on the one who shows me my faults. Subhanallah. So he did not want anyone in his advisory council to be someone who just fed him positive compliments, right? He wanted people who knew his faults, knew his detriments, and could advise him to go the correct way, right? The positive way. And this is important because it's hard for us as humans to take feedback. Even me, we're all human, subhanAllah. It's hard for us to take feedback. It's hard for us to listen when our mom tells us something, when our dad tells us something. But this is Amir al-Mu'mineen. And what kind of leader in this world today would want people around them that tells them what's wrong with them, right? No leader. But the best of leaders, one of the best of leaders after Rasulullah, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, he wants people around him that advise him and push him and nudge him in a more positive way, right? That know what his negative detriments are, right? So don't shout, don't be angry, don't be disappointed, right? As a leader, when people give you constructive criticism, take it, analyze it, right? Improve from it. And my dear brothers and sisters, the concepts I'm talking about right now are actually like harder to implement, right? But it's something that we should all start, subhanAllah. And there was also the final example again, where Umar radiallahu anhu when someone would tell Umar radiallahu anhu to fear Allah, he would shrink, subhanAllah. So as a leader, right, always remember Allah and always ensure that you have that fear of Allah, right? That that you trust Allah, right? Subhanallah. So have that self-awareness, right? That humility. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. So I'll end it off with this, right? We talked about having that truthfulness, right? We talked about having, like, knowing when you're wrong, admitting when you're wrong. And it's okay to admit when you're wrong. All these psychologists nowadays in this world, and I'm talking to all of you, right? All these psychologists, right? All these experts, so-claimed experts, right? That identify these concepts, right? Like emotional intelligence, self-accountability, vulnerability, all of these things. And they attribute it to a successful leader. And most of the successful leaders nowadays in business, or I wouldn't say politics, but in business or in trade, they exhibit these qualities, right? Subhanallah. And little did we know that these qualities were also exhibited by our pious predecessors, subhanallah. And I want to end it off with this. When Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu appointed one individual as the general for Iraq, right? So imagine, he appointed a general for Iraq. And imagine you're that general, right? So that general, that Sahabi, he goes to Iraq, he sits on his desk, right? And he gets his first letter from Umar ibn Khattab, right? And he opens that letter, and what can you expect? Maybe some technical instructions, or maybe you expect how to deal with the people, or maybe you expect what I just said, right? Being soft, like all these positive qualities and attributes, right? That you need to have. No. He said, as-salah. Maintain your salah, uphold your prayer, because without it, you're nothing. Without it, you lose everything. All of these qualities, all of these virtues, these positive aspects, these positive characteristics that are incorporated in Islam, like as-sadiq, al-amin, stuff we didn't discuss today and stuff we did discuss today, that truthfulness, that self-accountability, that in front of Allah, that self-accountability in front of Allah, that emotional intelligence, promoting those around you, whether it be your child or whether it be, your coworker or those around you, and checking your pride and ego at the door, subhanAllah. All these things are nothing, and all these things deplete without salah. Because us as Muslims, do you think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will just let you go? If you strive to be a Muslim, if you claim to be a Muslim, do you think Allah will just let you go if you stop your salah? No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is gonna pull you back, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is gonna check you, right? So subhanAllah, do not uphold your salah as you also exhibit that good character. Subhanallah, and once again, we're all leaders here, whether or not you like it. Whether or not you think you're a leader or you think that you're not a leader, you are one. Whether it be at your home, at your school, I can guarantee you that there's one person that's at least thought about you and thought, what's this person doing? What's this person, what can I see from this person? What can I observe from this person, right? And subhanAllah, us as insan are very observant creatures, subhanAllah. Allah has made us very observant. So subhanAllah, you are a leader, and you should uphold these qualities, subhanAllah, inshallah, that our righteous predecessors did, like Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, and Rasulullah subhanAllah. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst the best of Muslims, amongst the best of people, the ones who have the best akhlaq. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst those who have the best adab. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us and our progeny righteous leaders, subhanAllah, and amongst the best of leaders. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. وأقيم الصلاة.